Hi everyone. So we're going to go ahead and do a close read of chapter 29 from Wuthering Heights. Those of you in the big book, that is chapter 15. This is kind of the last big speech that Heathcliff has with Nellie, his interaction with Catherine after Edgar dies. So we're going to start on page 208 in the small book. In the big book, you guys are on page 287, and we're looking at the line that says, "Why not let Catherine continue here?" So, again, this is after Edgar has died. Catherine has married Linton, so it seems like Heathcliff has kind of won his revenge here. So, Nellie asks, "Why not let Catherine continue here?" I pleaded, "and send Master Linton to her. As you hate them both, you not miss them. They can be on a daily plague to your unnatural heart." "I'm seeking a tenant for the Grange," he answered, "and I want my children about me to be sure. Besides, that lass owes me her services for her bread. I'm not going to nurture her in luxury and idleness after Linton is gone. Make haste and get ready now, and don't oblige me to compel you." Catherine says, "I shall. Linton is all I have to love in the world, and though you have done what you could have to make him hateful to me, and me to him, you cannot make us hate each other. And I defy you to hurt him when I am by, and I defy you to frighten me." "You are a boastful champion," replied Heathcliff, "but I don't like you well enough to hurt him. You shall get the full benefit of the torment as long as it lasts. It is not I who will make him hateful to you. It is his own sweet spirit. He's as bitter as gall at your desertion and its consequences. Don't expect thanks for this noble devotion. I heard him draw a pleasant picture to Zillah of what he would do if he were as strong as I. The inclination is there, and his very weakness will sharpen his wits to find a substitute for strength." "I know he has a bad nature," said Catherine. "He's your son, but I'm glad I've a better to forgive it. And I know he loves me, and for that reason I love him. Mr. Heathcliff, you have nobody to love you, and however miserable you make us, you shall still have the revenge of thinking that your cruelty arises from your great misery. You are miserable, are you not? Lonely like the devil, and envious like him. Nobody loves you. Nobody will cry for you when you die. I wouldn't be you." So at this point, Catherine has kind of turned into the more kind of vengeful, spiteful person that we saw at the beginning of the book, obviously for good reason. Remember, Catherine got locked up in Wuthering Heights in kind of the couple chapters that came right before this. And so she is just mad. Edgar is now dead. She doesn't have anybody left. So that paragraph there that I underlined where she says, "Mr. Heathcliff, you have nobody to love you." This is her trying to be as mean to Heathcliff as she possibly can be. And those words resonate with Heathcliff. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the next page here. And we're looking for the paragraph that says, "I shall have that home." So this is Nellie, or I'm sorry, Heathcliff talking to Nellie about why he wants um, Thrushcross Grange, but then he kind of completely switches gears. And as we're reading this section, because I'm going to be reading here for quite a while now, really be thinking about again that connection to Romantic Gothic lit. So Heathcliff says, "I shall have that home, not because I need it, but—" He turned abruptly to the fire, and continued with what, for lack of a better word, I must call a smile. "I'll tell you what I did yesterday. I got the sexton, who is digging Linton's grave," meaning Edgar here, "to remove the earth off her coffin lid, and I opened it. I thought once I would have stayed there when I saw her face again. It's hers yet. He had hard work to stir me, but he said it would change if the air blew on it, and so I struck one side of the coffin loose and covered it up. Not Linton, sighed damn him. I wish he'd been soldered in lead. I bribed the sexton to pull it away when I'm laid there, and slide mine out too. I'll have it made so, and then by the time Linton gets to us he'll not know which is which." "You are very wicked, Mr. Heathcliff," I exclaimed. "Were you not ashamed to disturb the dead?" Okay, so let's pause here for just a second. So what Heathcliff does is he basically convinces a gravedigger, so that's what a sexton is, to while they're digging the grave for Edgar, he has the gravedigger open up Catherine's coffin. Now, obviously, Catherine has been dead now for about 20 years. Heathcliff says that when he sees Catherine in her coffin, he thinks that it still kind of looks like her, all this sort of stuff. He then bribes the gravedigger to remove one side of the coffin. So that way, when Heathcliff dies, they're going to remove his side of his coffin. So that way, the two of them can kind of intermix. So if you're kind of thinking about it, you have Edgar's coffin, let's say on the left, Catherine's is going to be in the middle, Heathcliff's is going to be on the right, and the walls between Catherine and Heathcliff are going to be open. So kind of really disturbing, but there you go. Okay, so continuing on, Heathcliff says, I disturb nobody, Nellie, he replied, and I gave some ease to myself. I shall be a great deal more comfortable now, and you'll have a better chance of keeping me underground when I get there. Disturbed her? No, she has disturbed me night and day through 18 years, incessantly, remorselessly, till yesternight, and yesternight I was tranquil. I dreamt I was sleeping the last sleep by that sleeper, with my heart stopped and my cheek frozen against hers. And if she had been dissolved into earth, or worse, what would you have dreamt of then? I said. Of dissolving with her, and being more happy still, he answered. Do you suppose I dread any change of that sort? I expected such a transformation on raising the lid, but I'm better pleased that it should not commence till I share it. Besides, unless I received a distinct impression of her passionless features, that strange feeling would hardly have been removed. It began oddly. You know, I was wild after she died, and eternally from dawn to dawn praying her to return to me. Her spirit. I have a strong faith in ghosts. I have conviction that they can and do exist among us. The day she was buried there came a fall of snow. In the evening I went to the churchyard. It blew bleak as winter. All around was solitary. I didn't fear that that fool of a husband would wander up the den so late. Let me go ahead and switch pages here. And no one else had business to bring them here. Being alone and conscious 2 yards of loose earth was the sole barrier between us. I said to myself, I'll have her in my arms again. If she be cold, I'll think this is the north wind that chills me, and if she be motionless, it is sleep. I got a spade from the tool house and began to delve out all my might. Scraped the coffin, I fell to work with my hands. The wood commenced cracking about the screws. I was on the point of attaining my object when it seemed I heard a sigh from somewhere above, close at the edge of the grave, and bending down. If I can only get this off, I muttered. I wish they may shovel the earth over both of us. And I wrenched more desperately still. There was another sigh close at my ear. I appeared to feel the warm breath of it displacing the sleet-laden wind. I knew no living flesh and blood was by, but as certainly as you perceive the approach to some substantial body in the dark, though it cannot be discerned, so certainly I felt that Kathy was there, not under me, but on earth. A sudden sense of relief flowed from my heart through every limb. I relinquished my labor of agony, and turned consoled at once, unspeakably consoled. Her presence was with me. It remained while I refilled the grave and led me home. Okay. So again, Heathcliff is saying that on the night that Catherine was buried, he went out to the graveyard to try to dig her up, and then he says that he felt her presence there, and it calmed him and stopped his digging of his grave, or of her grave. So obviously you have big connections there to Romantic Gothic lit, and then when you guys think of the ending of the book, how Catherine and Heathcliff, the villagers, are saying that they can see their ghosts on moors, all that sort of stuff. It all kind of gets connected back to this chapter here. So I hope that helps. That's kind of the one big section out of these last remaining chapters here. And if you guys have any questions about Wuthering Heights, remember you can talk to Miss Kavars tomorrow about them.